Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody, welcome into another week of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Glad to have you no matter where or how you're listening. What a weekend on plenty to catch up on. College football, of course, the Ryder Cup. Man, that just did not go America's way. As Europeans, man, they're really good in a team sport. And although it was, wow, was it fun to watch that. If you watch that coming down the end, watching the emotion of the players, the fans, the noise, that's how golf should be, man. If golf was like that every week, the ratings would be a lot higher, without question. But plenty to get to. The Hoosiers win a gigantic road win. The AP top 25 is out. Indiana into the top 10. We'll talk about all that and as more. As well as more. First win at Iowa since 2009, I think. Arkansas fired coach already. We're 5 weeks into the season, man, and a lot of coaches have already seen a pink slip coming. A little late is Sam Pittman from Arkansas after they lose over the weekend to the Fighting Irish in a must-win for both. Well, I said it was a must-win game last week. I didn't mean it in that regard. I was not expecting Arkansas to fire their coach. I wonder let's see. Who will be the interim coach there? You know, Bobby Petrino is the OC, right? The former Arkansas coach who left with great embarrassment after being the coach and having a volleyball player girlfriend. And while he was married and had a wreck on his motorcycle. That was something. But that'll be interesting to see. The shakeup in the top 10, no doubt. The Buckeyes still at the top. Hey, they get a tough win out in Washington. That Washington was playing really well, and that's a tough place to play. So they stay at the top. And then we had the gigantic matchup of the Oregon Ducks and Penn State in Happy Valley. I was fortunate to be able to see some of that game coming back from the Iowa game. But you want to talk about a tough environment to play in? I'm not sure that they get much tougher than that. It was as a nighttime, the whiteout. Just the whole effect, and Oregon managed it. Oregon overcame it and got the win there. I've said a few times that I really think that they might be the number one team in football. Boy, oh boy, that's a solid win. Or it's more than a solid win. It's a hell of a win. But the Big Ten Conference now with still just 3 teams in the top 10, but Indiana is one of those. Now, I want to make sure I'm looking at the actual AP top 10 and not something else. But Indiana jumped to 8. There's so many stinking polls. I was looking at the Pro Football Focus one as well. They have Indiana at number 7 in theirs. But the Hoosiers, as expected, jump into the top 10, which was, they were sitting right outside at number 11. So that was not a surprise to see, but a lot of little movement in the top 10 as well. Yeah, Indiana, number 8 in the AP poll, as expected. Ranked above whom? Oh, my goodness. Arch Manning at Texas. What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on? Don Fischer will join us in the next segment as we'll talk about his viewpoint from that. I'm sure it was a fun one. But yeah, Ohio State remains at the top. Oregon now jumps to number 2 after that huge win. So the Big Ten, could the Big Ten have another national champion, but a different team? I don't think that the SEC managed to do that in that long run where they were winning. It was usually Alabama, and then Georgia kind of jumped up there. LSU, they took a tumble, 9 spots as they lose at Ole Miss. Miami was idle, as they say, and moved down a spot. Ole Miss vaults 9 spots up the poll with that 24-19 win at home over LSU. Oklahoma was idle, and they moved up 2 spots while having a quarterback undergo surgery. Now, that's disingenuous to me. There's no way Oklahoma is as good as they're going to be without that quarterback right now, and so you move them up 2 spots. Yeah, not so much. Yeah, I'm not buying that. Texas A&M at number 6. Penn State drops 4 spots to number 7, as they should not have dropped much. I mean, that was an epic game, instant classic, as they like to say. Right, 1 spot above Indiana. Texas 9, Alabama, number 10, Kalen DeBoer. Huge win at Georgia for Kalen. 2nd year in a row he beats the Bulldogs. So maybe the Tide can get things going. I hope for Kalen's sake. He's a good guy. I texted him after the big win. They'll get things going. Texas Tech, Georgia dropped 7 spots. LSU dropped 9 spots. Iowa State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. I mean, basically the entire SEC. Georgia Tech. And there's Florida State after tumbling 10 spots. Missouri, Michigan, Notre Dame moves up only 1 spot. How about that? Only 1 place after a 56-13 thrashing of Arkansas. They move up 1 place. Then that shocks me more than anything. Not that I'm saying they should be here or there, but oh yeah, don't worry. We're going to talk about that. 5 Left says no RPOs on 4th down with less than a yard. Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the play calling. It was a little less than imaginative in Iowa. That's certainly something I'll bring up to Don. But, you know, yeah, there was no doubt the play calling specifically in the second half, because you've got to make an adjustment. It wasn't working in the first half, and we're talking about Indiana here now. I was just surprised to see the lack of change, the lack of adjustment. It did not work in the first half. Not sure why they thought it was going to work in the second half. And although Kurt Signetti said in the presser that those weren't RPOs, and they may not have been, it was still a horrible call. They didn't work. I didn't understand, and in the postgame show, I kind of railed on it a bit, but Just didn't understand. Why are you not running one of a myriad of plays that they have that can gain you a few yards that are on the outside, that are moving the ball away? They had the box stacked. Hell, they had half the stadium in the box. So you got that going for him. Heath mentions that Tay Kenny picks Kansas in the basketball side of things, and that is true. I think he meant DeVries with a swing and a miss. Well, no, I mean, I don't know if you can say that. I mean, that's not really everybody. It's a swing and a miss for anybody that was recruiting him then. They're not going to get them all. Yeah, Wildcat, go under center. There's not only that, move the ball out, roll out. I mean, I just saw so many different things that I would have done personally, but it's easy to second guess. I understand that. But hey, I'm going to go ahead and take a break. So when Don sneaks in, we're ready to go. Don Fischer up next here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're back with that and more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday, and daggone it, I planned on being ready to play the call of Don Fischer making on that last play with Elijah Surratt, and I got too busy, Don, because it was just a great one, and I'm sure it almost came as a shock because it was a short pass, and then boom, with it like a lightning bolt, that thing turned into the play of the game. Speaking, of course, of the 7-yard slant pass with just over a minute to play at Niall Kinnick Stadium that shocked the 70 or so thousand fans there as Indiana finally broke out with a big play.
Well, the best thing about that ball game is that Indiana won. The second best thing about it is that that's the first time that we've really seen in a game that went down to the wire for Indiana over the last 2 years. And this ball game went right down to the wire. There's no question about that. You give Iowa a tremendous amount of credit. They were ready for Indiana in this matchup. They're always ready for whoever they play, especially at Kinnick Stadium, because Kirk Ferentz is just a great football coach, has done a tremendous job with that program through so many years. And you know that they're going to try to control the football, keep it out of Indiana's hands, which is what they were able to do for a good part of that contest. And Indiana struggled with that. But I give this Hoosier team all the credit in the world. I know on the post-game show when we interviewed Kurt Signetti, I'd never heard him be that happy after a ball game about having this team pull it out like they did, because they hadn't faced that. They really hadn't. I mean, when you look at the Ohio State game last year and the Notre Dame game last year, they looked like they were in trouble from the outset, and obviously they never really got back into those two contests, even though literally last year at halftime, it could have been a 7-7 game at Ohio State. And you love the way that team fought. But in this particular matchup, this was a game that was a gut check type game, if you know what I'm saying. And
exactly what it was.
Exactly. I mean, and I wanted to see how this team would perform down the stretch in a game that was on the line, and you had your backs against the wall so much of this contest. And granted, they were never down in a big way or anything like that, but it was just one of those games where you thought this could come down to the last play, and that's exactly what it did. And the resilience that this team showed, in my opinion, was really special.
Donna, we did a little pregame thing ourselves, and the night before I'd kind of rewatched the Iowa Rutgers games, and I saw what I had seen in the Indiana team, growth in their offense, and I'm like, you know what, boy, Gronowski and that offense looks like they kind of got it together at Rutgers, and I said, you see that growth. Saw it again against Indiana. And I was like, this is probably going to be a little different than we were all expecting. And it turned out to be just that. Then you add in the fact that the noise, the crowd there, great, one of the great environments of all of college football. But Indiana never wilted. It was problematic, but more problematic was the great game plan that Iowa put together, especially on offense, that kept Indiana off balance a little bit, although that defense didn't break.
No, they did not. I thought Indiana's defense played terrific in this ball game. They managed to keep the ground game that Iowa was going to put out there in some semblance of control. I think the Hawkeyes gained just 92 yards rushing in this contest. Indiana got an interception. Again, the kinds of things that you expect in a game like this. It could come down to turnovers. It could come down to the last play of the ball game, which essentially it did. All the little things that you want to find out the character of your football team. All of those things we found out in this matchup, in my opinion. And this team will not stop fighting. That's just who Kurt Signetti is, and that's how he preaches football to his team, and they have bought into that. So I also was pretty pleased with what I saw for Fernando Mendoza. He got pressured a lot in this ball game. He hung in there almost on every throw that he made, and just did the right things, made the right decisions for the most part. Decision making is such a critical thing. We saw that last year with Rourke, who I thought was the best quarterback we've ever seen at Indiana in regard to making the right decision in whatever circumstance he was put in. And I saw a lot of that from Fernando in this ball game, too. I thought he did a really nice job. His receivers were terrific again in this matchup. And Elijah Surratt was fantastic, especially in the second half of this game.
132 yards overall, but of course the longest and the biggest, the 42 or 49 yard, which was about 46 yards after the catch on that play. But yes, all of those guys staying in there and staying poised to get it done. I agree. Now, no one has been more positive on this football program in the last 2 years than me, I don't think. But after the game, in our post, I said, I've got to slap Mike Shanahan's hand here, because I was really, really surprised to not see some adjustments in the second half, because Iowa was doing a great job of taking certain things away. And I was really expecting Indiana to go to a quicker hitting offense where, 5-yard outs, roll the pocket, move the pocket out, do some things different where it's quicker hitting, kind of like what Iowa was doing successfully. And Indiana kind of kept sticking with, dropping back and expecting Fernando to have all day to throw, and that wasn't the case.
So that was the one thing that I would have gotten on Indiana about and that's the first time under this Kurt Cignetti that I saw this, but just kind of a lack of alterations there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was all about either. I mean, a lot of people were talking about the fact that Indiana really didn't throw the football like they have in the past. Probably didn't take advantage of that area as much as you would expect. But you know what? There's always reasons behind that too. And I don't think we had a chance to really understand that after the ball game, after the press conferences were over with. I don't know that there were any questions asked about that scenario all that much in this matchup. The biggest takeaway of this ball game, in my opinion, was the toughness of this Indiana football team mentally to stay in it, to not get overly frustrated with the way things were going, to hang in there, try to find a way to get it done, and then getting it done. That's the most important thing. And there were in my opinion, there were some strange happenings in this ball game that were just different than anything we've seen previously.
I still don't know what was going on, Don, with this. The only penalty the Indiana had for a long time was this false start that I'm like, how the hell do you get a false start coming out of a timeout or whatever they're coming out of? And they seemed like they were just waiting on the official to set things up. And all of a sudden there's a false start flag and Kurt Cignetti went berserk. Right. I understand, because I still don't know what the hell happened.
Well, I don't know that anybody really does or got the kind of explanation you would like. And we do know that at the end of the ball game, when Fernando was trying to put his knee down and, trying to take some time off the clock, that kind of thing. Well, the rule is apparently that you can't do that. You can't. Yeah,
I didn't know that either until on the way home.
Put the knee down. But they got two explanations from officials that were different from one another. So, obviously Coach Cignetti talked about getting a clarification after the ball game on what that's all about. But in both times that there wasn't a flag thrown. That's the good news. There wasn't a flag thrown in either occasion in which Fernando dropped back like that. And then, of course, at the end, he just took it into the end zone for the safety. And I think Kurt wanted him to run out of the end zone, so it'd be some kind of a touchback. But that didn't happen either. So whatever the case may be, Indiana wins this ball game, a game that they had to have, a game that would dictate one way or the other exactly kind of how this team might fluctuate or perform the rest of the year. I don't think that's the case. I just think we found out a lot more about the character of this football team.
Absolutely. And going into an environment that's not your own and being able to withstand all that, because there are two that are coming up that are going to be worse than that. And one of those is up very next. Of course, we'll talk more about that next week with the traveling to Oregon. But Indiana gets 2 weeks now to heal up, to get ready, to try to absorb what might be an opponent that could be the number one team in the country. What an incredible win they got at Penn State. And I'm talking of Oregon, of course, right, over the weekend. What a battle that was. But Indiana has 2 weeks to heal up. D'Angelo Pons did not play in this game because of a minor injury that he sustained. So you get that time to heal up. And he's probably one of the only ones, I think, that is of a little minor injury. So they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody come off the field on Saturday from Indiana's side of the football with an injury of any kind. Now, that doesn't mean that something didn't occur in that ball game, but the fact of the matter is that, and that's the other thing about this football team that's really impressive, is the strength and conditioning coach and the trainers for this ball club and how they keep these guys healthy, because that's one of the critical things in football. You've got to try to keep your guys healthy and make sure those guys are available week in and week out. And I'm not sure that Indiana has had that many injuries. Obviously, they've had 2 season-ending injuries this year, and Lee Beebe and Bryson Bonds both out with ACLs. But other than that, they don't have a lot of those nagging injuries. The one guy that everybody wants to see, and we haven't seen him yet, is Byron Baldwin. Who's a safety and a redshirt freshman safety who's really supposed to be a great player, but we haven't had a chance to see him yet this year because he's been dealing with an injury, and maybe he'll be back by next week as well.
Yeah, and sacks. Iowa blitzed all day. It reminds me of the movie Remember the Titans when he calls that timeout and he goes out there, I want you to blitz all night. Don't give up a down. Well, they did that. They blitzed seemingly nonstop. And for Indiana's offensive line to withstand that, giving up only 2 sacks, that's also a very, very positive sign because Iowa has always has very, very good and talented linemen.
No question. Their defensive line is very good. Their pressure that they put on with their blitzing and so on was amazing, but it also cost them in the end because they were all out in that last play that Indiana scored on. It was bring the house blitz, that type of thing. And Indiana was able to convert that pass, and Elijah broke a tackle and headed for the end zone, and it was the difference in the game.
Absolutely. And quickly, your experience, because at least where I sit generally, and we can't hear. I could hear I knew that they were loud because I could hear it through the glass this time. But what was it like for you, that noise? It sounded like it was getting pretty loud out there, Don.
Well, it was. You had a hard time hearing yourself, even with headsets on. It was a difficult challenge in that regard, but I love when you have crowds like that. I don't care if it's in Bloomington, if it's in Iowa, if it's in Oregon, I don't care. I love that kind of crowd noise and that kind of thing. It's a part of what generates a lot of adrenaline, and you just love to be a part of that. It really is fun.
Well, yeah, hopefully for the fans, I can get some of your calls pulled up a little bit later because if there's some way to make one of your calls sound better, it's having that noise behind it because it just juices you up more. I know that you've got now with the bye week. Is there a coach's show?
There is no coach's show this week, so we'll be back with you a week from Thursday with our next show, and everything goes back to normal next week. But this week, it's hit the little white ball. I gotta go.
There you go, buddy. You enjoy it, and we'll talk to you next week. Is there a presser today? I haven't looked yet.
No presser, no.
Oh, lovely. Enjoy your day off playing golf. The Fish joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Don Fischer, as he does each and every week. We've got lots more coming up. Well, we don't have to take a break just yet. We'll hang in here, actually. Just for those that were there, which wasn't a lot, I saw a couple of patches of IU fans in the across from us in the press box, we're up there pretty high. Up in the up left corner, just a little sliver, and then down. I don't know if they had gone there after the game, waiting for the guys to come off the field. But great environment, just another incredible environment, and it's going to get that way again in 2 weeks when Indiana travels to play Oregon, and Oregon now 5-0. You want to talk about this is going to be a top. Well, don't know what's going to happen after next week with the polls. Indiana might move up a little bit more, but at best, it'll probably still be it's going to be a top 10 matchup out there. And where are they going to slot that game? The great thing is it will not be a noon game. That would be 9 a.m. out in Eugene. So that is not going to happen. So the earliest it's probably going to be is a 3:30 game. So you got that going for you, which is nice. So if you want to tailgate at home, that's what they should do. Tailgate at home. Have a tailgate. Have a watch party. Hey, we'll talk about that. Some places to have some watch parties. I wish that I was going out there. I really do. I really should have went ahead and booked that ticket, but it was awfully expensive by the time I looked to do that. I'd love to be doing a post-game show from Autzen Stadium, but it was so fun doing it again from now Kinnick Stadium. And I've got to be honest with you. I talked about the wave to the kids. I completely missed it. And it happens after the first quarter. I'm pretty sure that last time out there, it was either mentioned or
people in the press box stood. Nothing happened this time. And I'm like, what? How'd that sneak by? But it did. I didn't see people standing. I mean, I know what happened. I just don't know how I missed it. It was crazy. Chris asking, do I think the lack of variety in play calling was the coaching staff trying not to show Oregon too much? If so, was that risky? Yeah, well, I was going to answer it that very way. No, I don't, because you're not going to risk losing a game in order to not show something. It's getting late enough in the season. I mean, what are you going to hide at this point? I mean, I'm sure there's plays that they haven't used just yet, but no, I don't, Chris. I think that it was because I'm not talking about deep plays here. I'm just talking about plays to get it away from the middle of the field where Iowa was running roughshod. They were blitzing constantly. I think that, and there's no presser today because this is what I was going to ask, but I will ask this question next week. Is there a plan to deal with audibling out of plays in environments like Iowa, like Oregon, and more so like Penn State? Penn State is going to be the hardest environment they've ever played in. I mean, did you see that game Saturday night? Imagine 105,000 people, the level of noise that brings, and they were all had those white pom-poms. So, no, I don't think that they were holding back much. I think it was a lack of adjustments because I'm just talking about, hey, run some outside plays, man. Roll the pocket out. I mean, if you've got a tight end on one side and at least one receiver on the right side, you run a quick play action and you roll out. You've got two multiple options right there, especially with one of them heading straight to the sticks. Quick, bang, bang. I was a little mesmerized that change didn't happen, and I don't want to harp on it again, but it's a topic of conversation. That's kind of what happened last year. They weren't able to do that. Now, Curtis Work probably had the ability to do that a little bit more. Someone asked me, do you think that Cignetti trusts Mendoza to do that just yet? I don't know is the answer to that question. I really don't. Then, you have silent counts, which they're not really using. They're doing it differently, that you have to go to snap the ball. Difficult because you can't hear anything. The center can't hear the quarterback. They usually use the clap of the hand to snap the ball. Well, in those situations, you're not hearing somebody clap, or you can hear three different people clap. So what do they do to be able to option audible out of plays, especially when you've called a running play right into the guts of where Iowa has the box just stacked? That's a question, something they're going to have to work out. Hey, we've got lots more coming up. Plenty to talk about. We'll go ahead and take a break. Glad to have you with us here on this Monday morning quarterbacks, baby. Back with more right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you along for the ride. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. The Colts, they take a loss, their first loss of the season out in Los Angeles. A close game, but just could not get it done, as the Rams win that one by a touchdown, I believe. So not a shocker. No one expected them to go through the season undefeated. And traveling, well, they traveled to 3 time zones again. Talked about that just before the on the Friday with Matt Taylor, or Thursday rather, with Matt Taylor. But I'm not sure that was the reason. Not saying that it was, but it happened. Brian says the Colts blew that game, and they did, and it usually happens. So they've got another chance. They'll get to do it again, as they'll next weekend go back at it and see if they can get things back on schedule, taking on the Raiders back in Indianapolis on October 5. So was that? Yeah, that's Saturday or Sunday rather. A big game there with the Raiders coming in, and then they host the Cardinals before traveling out to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. All of those games, non-divisional games, man. As we've talked about, their schedule so front-loaded with non-divisional games. Then they play the Titans again, a team that the only divisional team they played so far. They'll have the Titans out of the way before they have played any other divisional opponent. Which could be good. It's at home. So it would give the Colts a chance to go 2-0 in the division. Then they have to travel to Pittsburgh on November 2nd to take on Aaron Rodgers. And then come back and host Michael Penix Jr. and the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not sure. Did he play this weekend? I didn't check. I'll be honest with you. I was catching up on sleep, people. Catching up on sleep. Got back about 3 a.m. from Iowa City after that ball game, and enjoyed that immensely as usual. Though it's always, I love going to places that are just great football places. You know, I pointed out Iowa City is one of those, Nebraska another one of those. Just great environments, and it was loud, it was fun. So yeah, Gritty not happy with a holding call. Brian says the Colts didn't make the playoffs last year because of one loss, and in that loss, Taylor fumbled about to score. Well, things are not always going to go perfect, but they'll get back on it. I think that this is a team that is going to definitely be a playoff team, especially once they get into division play. I think that the Colts are the best in their division already, but we'll see. That's why they play the games. Said that the other day on how initially I thought that this Indiana-Iowa game was going to be more like a 42-40 game or 42-20 game. And then I was watching the Iowa-Rutgers game, and I'm like,
their offense just looked a little smoother. It looked a little more divisional. They had divided things up, a little more passing, a little more running. And Mark Gronowski was looking pretty good for Iowa. Their offensive line did a great job. PF Pro Football Focus has them rated as like the third best offensive line talent-wise. That's not a surprise. And he looked like the guy that had thrown for 10,000 yards in the 2 previous years. Iowa's going to be good. And that's another win for Indiana that is going to stand the test of time, because Illinois, a huge win for the Illini as they beat USC, although it was at home, doesn't matter. That is a big win, not only for Illinois, but for Indiana, because that's going to make their win over Illinois look that much better. And I think that helped Indiana in the rankings this week as they were booted up inside of the top 10. What are you going to say? I mean, you're being respected when you're voted to be a top 10 team. Yeah, you're being respected, as they should be, without question. And they proved it at Illinois or at Iowa, because football people know how tough of an environment that was. People know that that's a worthy win. Now, as dominant as Indiana looked in that Illinois game, they did not look quite that dominant against Iowa, but no one was really expecting that domination. But Indiana should have won easier, in my opinion. They should have scored more. They just did not get it going on any kind of a consistent basis whatsoever. I was just, I've already said it. I'm not, there's no sense of beating that dead horse into the ground, but just looking down through Indiana's drive charts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 drives in the game. And resulted in an interception. Besides the opening drive, which was a touchdown, the second and basically the last drive, which was a touchdown. I'm not going to count the one that actually followed them and they purposely gave up a safety. They only scored 2 touchdowns in this game. And that was on the first drive and the basic last drive that they had in the entire game. They punted 4 times. They gave it up on downs 2 times, being stopped on 4th down. And that second 4th down play is specifically what I'm talking about when it comes to the inability to audible out of what you have called and what the defense is showing. Iowa stacked the box. They had everybody up there except for Kirk Ferentz waiting for that run play. And they were all over it. You've got to be able to audible out of that and be able to call something different. I mean, it's going to be something that has to hit quickly, but you've got one-on-one with everybody. There's just no way, especially when you have 1 yard to go, you could just send whomever your receivers are on each side. All they have to do is sprint at an angle to the sticks, and you put that ball on the inside of that. That's an unstoppable play. Yeah, Andrew says the Indiana's punter got some needed practice against Iowa. He punted more times against Iowa than maybe he has this entire season combined. I'd have to look at that. Hey, yeah. Rigoberto Sanchez finally started earning his paycheck for the Colts. But yeah, Indiana, not a lot of sustained drives, as no secret to that. But the second half, let's see, starting with the third quarter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the second half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 drives in the first half. Iowa did an unbelievable job of keeping the ball. The time of possession was on their side for most of the game. I'll pull that up in a minute, but I take that back. Oh no, that's a field goal. Yeah. And oh man, their field goal kicker. He missed that 42-yarder with going down late, which may have changed the outcome of the game. I mean, sure would have changed the flavor of it at that moment. Because earlier he kicked one from, was it 53 yards or something? I don't understand why they don't have that laid out. But it was a booter. And I'm sitting basically 10 stories off the ground. And when he kicked that ball, I was like, oh, hell, that thing is never going to come down. And it went through the uprights from 54 yards at or above the top of the uprights. Dude's got a leg, man. And missing that 42-yarder, it gave Indiana a big boost emotionally, defensively, without question. New Life says Iowa turned the game into a slugfest. Well, they did. They drug Indiana down, but part of that is Indiana failing to make adjustments on offense. Defensively, huge shout out to Brian Haynes and company. They do a tremendous job. Iowa was averaging over 200 yards rushing per week. Well, they got 92 this time. 92. Now, they did have a couple of guys out. Passing, if it had not been for that final 49-yard touchdown run and catch from Fernando Mendoza to Elijah Surratt, Iowa would have outthrown Indiana. Soak on that for a minute. But Fernando Mendoza ended up 13 of 23 for 233 yards, a pair of touchdowns, 1 pick, and only a 57% completion percentage. Gronowski, on the other hand, 19 of 25, only 144 yards, though. A lot of tight passes. No touchdowns, 1 interception. He completed 76% of his passes, but obviously those weren't getting big yardage chunks. So Indiana overall, they just gritted it out. And that's a gritty win. That's a game that Indiana does not win 2 years ago. They just didn't win those games. They lose them all day long. They'd get out toughed, whatever the case may be. That didn't happen here. Indiana took the fight to Iowa, maintained, got knocked back a few times on their heels, but they kept coming back. They never stopped. They did not stop. Brian said that Sig said no audibles were the game plan. Need to have 2 plays called in the huddle next game so he can at least switch to a pass out run. Yeah, I know. He did say that no huddles or no audibles because of the noise. Well, my point is, well, guess what you're going to face at Oregon and worse at Penn State? You have to have that ability. There's no way I think that an offense that's as dangerous as Indiana's offense is. And let me tell you, Indiana's as dangerous as anybody. The perfect example is when Indiana allowed Iowa to score let's see, when right at the half, Ganowski, a 3-yard rush. They scored that touchdown late to take a 10-7 lead. Indiana's facing going into the locker room trailing for the first time this season. There's 19 seconds. There was 19 seconds on the clock when Indiana's offense took over. And guess what? In 19 seconds, they managed to get off a successful field goal and tie that game. 19 seconds. That is how dangerous. That's like an NFL game. You see that in the NFL all the time. You don't see that in college very often. 19 seconds and you manage to get in scoring position and successfully score. That was huge for Indiana. That would bode well going down the line. As a matter of fact, those 3 points were huge. They would come into play later. I guarantee you that took a little bit of the wind out of Iowa's sails after taking that lead. They turn around and let Indy come back and get that score. It was big and very, very important. But the ability to be able to do that, I with the pressure Indiana was facing, I think that they should have, personally, I think they should have gone up tempo. I think there just should have been some changes made. Obviously, I mean, I can second guess all day long, and I don't mean to do that, but got to call balls and strikes, man. It's a legit question because it happened. Hey, we got to take a break. More coming up. Appreciate you being with us. Greg Rakestraw will join us later, and we've got more football to talk about right after these messages from Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. I welcome you aboard. Monday morning quarterback action going on. Hey, how about the NFL last night? Micah Parsons returned to Dallas in a different uniform as his Packers taking on the Cowboys that ended in a kiss your sister 40-40 tie. So I hate ties. I guess it doesn't really matter in the regular season, but I'm not sure why they don't change that akin to college football to make it more amenable to someone coming out with a win. I mean, in the second, if you go into overtime in college football, the second round, you have to start going for two. It's like Major League Baseball now. They put a guy on second. What is it, after the 10th inning or in the 10th inning? And that's kind of worked. I mean, nobody wants to see a baseball game go 22 innings. So I at first I hated that, but I've come around to it. So something needs to happen in the NFL, I think, to kind of alleviate that. Purdue in basketball, Purdue has its next forward as they land a in-state prospect. Rivers Knight, a 2026 forward originally from North Carolina, committed to the Boilers on Sunday. He joined in La Lumiere teammate Jacob Weber, who committed earlier this month. The boarding school located in LaPorte. Knight is a 6'9", 210-pound forward. He gives Matt Painter his first true front court commitment in the class, following earlier pledges from Weber, a wing and a combo guard, Luke Ertl of Mount Vernon. Man, Purdue is just, they're still lining up on these commitments. That's a hell of a pull. That is a heck of a pull. Knight is a 3-star prospect, ranked 184th nationally per the Rivals Industry rankings. His recruitment developed quickly. His offers from others included Illinois, LSU, Mississippi State, VCU, and Virginia Tech. So Matt Painter continuing on. I'm telling you, man, he's not missing a beat. Greg Rakestraw from the ISB Network about to join us as he gets prepared to do so. We'll, yeah, man, Matt Painter's not missing it. He's staying above it. Greg, you can just start talking when you're ready to, brother.
Well, I'm good. I'm just trying to get this camera in position so that way you can see my angelic face as we have this conversation.
Hey, it sure beats having to stare at mine, let me tell you. So
there you go.
It's a great weekend. Not the weekend the Colts wanted, but this is not a bad loss. It's not, I don't want to say unexpected, but nothing's expected in the NFL. But you're traveling 3 time zones away. You're taking on a team that is a good team, well-coached team. And it came down to just making mistakes. And the Colts wind up on the wrong side, but still have a 3-1 start to put in the bank.
This is one, Jim, you can be upset about how it played out, but frankly, big picture, this is probably a game that you didn't think was going to be in the win column to start the season. As you look big picture the schedule, as we have more of an idea as to what this Colts team is about, frankly, you kind of thought, hey, if they're going to have a good year, they're going to have to get off to a good start. And that is absolutely what they have done to this point. So disappointing in how the game played out. Disappointing, in fact, that you kind of gave one away that you should have won. But at the same time, now you kind of have further proof. Hey, I think the Rams are one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the National Football League, and they may be better than that. And the Colts should have won that game yesterday, Jim. So, again, disappointing loss, disappointing in mistakes that were made that weren't made in previous weeks. But long term, Jim, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, next up, a 1-3 Raiders team as they come into Indianapolis. So a chance to get back on the right side of things. And although it's the NFL, man, there are no easy games.
Right.
It's people forget that. I don't care if you're 1-3. It's the NFL. Every team has professional players on it. And their losses were to some decent teams. You get out of the preseason, they actually lost to the Patriots, so that was they beat the Patriots. That's their lone win. But the Cardinals have a good offense. They lose to the Chargers, who's offensively inclined, and the Commanders. They're coming off of a big loss there, but an upsetting loss to the Bears at home, 25-24. So things are not going perfectly for the Raiders, and it's a good time for the Colts to jump on that parade.
Well, kind of to your point, Jim, the best examples I can give you from yesterday are the Giants were 0-3 and starting a rookie quarterback against a team that was 3-0, and the Giants won. The Saints, I think, are clearly one of the worst two teams in the National Football League at 0-3. The Bills are one of the best two teams in the National Football League, now 4-0, one of two remaining unbeaten teams that are left. And the Saints were in that game, for the entirety of that game. So you're right. Anything can happen in the National Football League, but the Colts should be favored each of the next two games. And so now we will learn what this team is truly about. Are they the team that took care of business, that made the fewest mistakes the first 3 weeks of the season, didn't turn the ball over, made big plays on defense? Or are they the team that made 3 turnovers yesterday, that made a very boneheaded play in terms of A.D. Mitchell, one that sadly a player on the team made last December that frankly cost him a playoff spot a year ago? You'd like to see that never happen again for this football team. And also a team that made a mistake of having 10 players on the field for a crucial play. So again, big picture, first month of the season went exceedingly well for the Indianapolis Colts. It could have been a perfect one. It wasn't. But now we'll learn a lot about this football team next Sunday as to how they respond to adversity.
Yeah, usually these are the kinds of mistakes you might see in the first week or two. You don't expect to see them at the end of the month after you're played your fourth game, when things are going well. But you just lose focus for a second, and either that happens or you're not paying attention to who's supposed to be in, who's not in. I don't know how that's just a communication breakdown.
Correct. And it's something you don't expect, because even though it's a new defensive coordinator, it's a largely veteran group. But at the same time, and this kind of goes to the day that Puka Nacua had yesterday, he's really good. But 13 catches on 15 targets, just shy of 160 yards. You got to remember the Colts are playing 3 guys that, while they're all veterans, especially Mike Hilton and Xavier Howard, they're playing 3 guys in the secondary and 3 guys at cornerback yesterday that none of them were on the Colts roster as of August 20th. You trade for Mekhi Blackman, you sign Xavier Howard, you bring in Mike Hilton. I thought Hilton, given the circumstances, Mike is actually not even on the active roster yet. He's on the practice squad, and they brought him up for yesterday's game. You're going to have some problems at corner just because, you drafted Justin Wally and he gets hurt, you lose him for the year. Jalen Jones, who I think in a perfect scenario for this team would have been the backup cornerback, he's injured and out for at least a couple of more weeks. This team continues to struggle historically when Kenny Moore can't play. Jim, my best bet would be is that he's probably out at least 1 more week, maybe 2. I don't think the Colts view it as a long injury in that, because if they did, they would have put him on injured reserve by now. And Shane Steichen's been pretty steadfast that they're not going to do that, make him saying he's not going to miss a minimum of 4 weeks. But that is the kind of where the injury bug has hit this team, and that is something this group will have to overcome. Now, are they playing the caliber of quarterback of Matthew Stafford next week? No. And Geno Smith? Absolutely not. Their focus is going to be on Ashton Genty and slowing down the running game. That'll be what the defense will be thinking about next week. But yesterday was a lesson of, hey, listen, if this team is the one that makes the fewest mistakes, they got a good chance to win. Yesterday was not a day where they made the fewest mistakes. And that's why they got an L on the board for the first time this season.
Yeah, and they've got a few games to go before they get through this kind of wonky schedule this year that is backloaded with their divisional games. So I forget who. I'm not looking at the schedule right now, but I know they've got the Cardinals that are coming up. I forget where else they're going, or who they play. But a number of games before they get back to the division games, and then the first one is the Titans, whom they've already played. So not only did they wait to get to the division plays, they get one of them out of the way before they even play anybody else And right now, it's looking pretty good. The Titans are 0-4. Houston's 1-3. Jacksonville, however, 3-1. So there's going to be a team that Indiana will be battling with inside the division.
Yeah, and the Colts do not see the Jaguars nor Titans until Thanksgiving weekend. And so it is the Texans that are here on the Sunday after Thanksgiving. The Colts finish their season in Houston on January the 4th. The Colts do not see the team that they are tied with the division lead after 4 games, the Jaguars, until December the 7th. And they turn around and play them 21 days later in their home finale, December the 28th. So, again, wonky, quirky is a good way to describe this Colts schedule this year. Their next road game is in the exact same place they just were. They go back to SoFi and they play the Chargers in 3 weeks. That is also the only road game that the Colts have during the month of October because they are at home for 3 of the next 4. So again, just kind of a season that's a little bit odd from a scheduling standpoint. You've got several 4:00 games. You've got several West Coast trips, and adding to the mix, let's go to Berlin, Germany in the middle of that too. So a little bit odd, a little bit different, but the Colts have navigated it with more good than bad so far, and hopefully that trend continues for the month of October.
You know, and that's been a conversation among Big Ten teams, of course, with teams coming, UCLA, USC, Washington, Oregon, having to travel, 3 time zones back and vice versa. The Colts having to do this a second time. And then you mentioned Berlin, Germany, the opposite damn direction. So that's, seriously, think about the amount of time zones between those that stretches out. That has to wreak havoc on the body and the psyche.
Well, the thing is that, especially at the National Football League level, and I'm pretty sure it's not that dissimilar at the Big Ten level at this point, Jim, is the amount of sports scientists or something of that ilk that are employed by these teams that basically, all right, here's the sleep pattern. Here's how I have to handle this. Here's where you shift, from a practice standpoint. Haven't gotten to the point of asking Shane yet exactly when they're going to head to Germany. It used to be teams would be over there for a full week. I know teams that'll head over after Wednesday or Thursday to play a game basically Sunday morning here in the U.S. So, and then that is all data driven. And so, trust me, there are people that I think my brain pan is pretty sizable. They're ones that have a bigger one than me that figure stuff like that out. And basically, that's kind of the marching orders those teams have going into a scenario like that.
Absolutely. What else happened this weekend that you saw or involved in?
So high school football on Friday night had a lopsided game, which kind of thought would be the case. Carmel and North Central. Carmel won that one 63-14. Looking forward to the next 2 weeks. I'm going to see Warren Central both of the next 2 Fridays. In 2 weeks, they'll take on that Carmel team. That'll be a top 10 showdown, as will their game this Friday night when they take on Lawrence North. That game, Jim, more or less for the MIC championship. Both LN and Warren Central have 1 loss on the season. They're 5-1, and both of those losses have been outside of conference play. So the current configuration of the MIC, which changes next year, only has 6 teams. This is Warren's final conference game. They are 4-0, so their 5th and final league game is Friday night before they finish with Carmel and Cathedral in terms of non-conference games. So MIC championship for me on Friday night. Looking forward to that coming up this Friday.
And where are we in soccer right now? I've got so much going on. I know that the season's still going, right?
Talking from an Indy 11 perspective?
Right.
So the Indy 11 have 1 more month of their season. They had they had their best win of the year on Saturday night. Beat FC Tulsa by a score of 2-1. Tulsa is the team that currently is leading the Western Conference in the USL Championship. Indy plays the team that is, frankly, the best team in the league, and that would be the Eastern Conference behemoths of Lou City. That game is in Louisville coming up on Saturday night. But for Indy, they are currently 1 point north of the final playoff spot with 4 matches left to play.
Well, and then what else do you have going on this upcoming week and weekend?
So high school football Friday night, a little small college football Saturday afternoon. DePaul playing host to Oberlin. Both DePaul and Wabash are 4-0 to start the season. And then the aforementioned Indy and Lou City match on Saturday night, and Colts and Raiders Sunday at 1 o'clock. Just your average 4 events in 48-hour weekend for me, James.
Oh, that's just how it goes, man, in the world of Greg Rakestraw. With all of that, I know this is a dumb question. Do you ever get a chance to watch college Division I football? I mean, is there even a window where you can do that? Catch up on whether condensed highlights or Big 10 and 40 or something?
Believe it or not, the best time that I have to do that is when, and people hate the Friday night games, when I get back from my game on a Friday night, I always hope there's like a 9 or a 10 o'clock kickoff out west someplace. That's kind of my, chance for my brain to turn to jello and just watch something. Occasionally I'll watch a little bit on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. I was watching the conclusion of the Indiana-Iowa game while getting ready for the Indy 11 game on Saturday night. So literally, as we are taping our open for the broadcast, I'm watching Surratt take it to the house and give Indiana a 20-13 win.
Yeah, that was
or 2015, I suppose.
Tight game. Yeah, I ended up 20. I didn't even know that, Greg. I had already left the press box to head downstairs because when you're on the road, especially, you're like, where the hell are we going? You've got to find where the presser is actually going to be. And in places like that, it's huge and it takes a minute or 10 to get there. So I wasn't even aware that had happened at the end. Now, this rule, I didn't know that there is a rule against how you go into the victory celebration, but how you can operate as a quarterback. I was not aware that you can be flagged for that. And, however you do it differently. And I personally, I think that's a stupid rule. I think you should be able to do whatever the hell you want when you have the ball.
Correct. I was always under the impression that it was a running clock until you took a knee or were tackled on that play. And so if that's not the case, that's probably news to everybody involved, and clearly Curt Cignetti as well.
Well, he got two different responses from an official. There was a whistle blown while the play was live, and he got an explanation from the sideline official and a different explanation from the referee. He said, I'm going to have to get a more defined from the Big Ten. And Indiana ends up running out of the end zone, which was not the original intent. Plus now, which I know they don't care about this, but ironically, Fernando Mendoza laughingly mentioned it afterwards, saying, I probably shouldn't say this, but I didn't mean to blow up anybody's backs. And I'm
That's
like,
right.
no, you probably shouldn't have said that, brother. I said, I know, because we know that he's not thinking that at the time, but just seeing that mentioned, boy, that has to send shivers down the backs of some certain people.
Every game is bet on, Jim. I did Butler and Marist on Saturday afternoon, which is FCS non-scholarship football. I'm pretty sure there was a line on that game. Again, we're talking about a level of college football where they're not giving athletic scholarships, and you can wager on it. That permeates everywhere. I don't think him saying.
I think high school football in Georgia, Greg, has lines.
We've kind of broken through that wall. That's no longer the taboo that it used to be. That was the old Brent Musburger / Al Michaels. That play is important to some. That is the reference that was being made there by Fernando Mendoza.
Yes, absolutely. And, but funny, but it's college football has been not everything, actually. NFL, I've talked about how much the college game has gotten tighter. Games are better. It's just better. There are more teams that have gotten better than what it used to be. I see this in the NFL, though, with so many of these close games, which it's professional. You expect that. But, I mean, there have been a lot of games that are going down to the final possession.
Jim, do the math. There are 2 unbeaten teams left, but I think there are going to be 3 winless teams that are remaining. Everybody else is in the middle. This has been a league of parity for a long time in the National Football League.
Yeah, it's been great. Matt Taylor pointed out a while back that every year 4% of the teams that did not make the playoffs will make the playoffs the following season.
Right, and the Colts obviously aspire to be in that group, Mr. Coyle.
Well, and they're looking like they're going to do it, buddy. We appreciate you as always. I hope you have a great rest of your week and get
prepped up for another big weekend.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Greg Rakestraw from the ISB Sports Network joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We'll take us a break. Come back with more. Plenty to talk about as the college football weekend gets topsy-turvy. Back with plenty more right after these messages.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. A little Monday morning quarterback action going on. What are you got to say? What are your thoughts from the weekend? Not just your favorite team, but the Big Ten overall, college football overall. Lots of great matchups. How about that Ohio or Penn State Oregon game? I was fortunate. I had a long drive after the Indiana-Iowa game, so was able to watch, mostly listen. But that game, the Alabama-Georgia game, but Oregon, wow. You want to talk about resilient. You want to talk about mentally tough. I cannot explain how incredible of a difficult environment it is at a place like Penn State that has over 100,000 people that are not on your side, that are making life miserable because of the noise, and that matters. It's very difficult. But Oregon bucked up, even though they gave up a 17-3 lead that they had. Penn State, on the other hand, you've got to give them credit. They make an incredible fourth quarter comeback. Drew Allar, who had just looked pretty average for most of the game and most of the season, to be honest with you, but he showed up. He threw some big time passes and played better than he had played for most of the season, to be honest with you. Was that, their growth? We've seen so many teams make leaps in these last couple of weeks. Now, Indiana was not one of those as far as expanding what they showed on offense, but getting that win is still growth. That's a game that Indiana would have never won in the past. I don't care that Iowa was ranked or not. They're a hell of a team. They will end up being ranked. They will end up being a bowl team. That's if Mark Gronowski is not injured too severely, because they have their next game is, I forget who they play, but it's not an easy one. I didn't mention the Ryder Cup. Damn. United States
cannot get it done. They go into Sunday with a huge deficit, make a unbelievable comeback to get so close, but just couldn't get it done. Couldn't get the putts to fall. Some guys did. They were rolling. I think Scotty Scheffler won. Justin Thomas had a big win, but they just could not get it done, man. Again. So Brian says the Ryder Cup was horrible. Well, it's horrible if you're a fan of the USA. Yeah. Fred points out Jim Franklin at Penn State is 4-21 against ranked teams. He's 1-15, I think, against top 5 teams. He will play Indiana. Oh, it's going to be, how long is that? There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks from now. Indiana's going to most likely be a top 10 team. Even if they lose at Oregon, they'll drop out of the top 10, but they will play Michigan State, UCLA, and Maryland prior to Penn State, which will probably provide them the opportunity to climb back into the top 10 at that time. So you're going to have another gigantic game and a lot of pressure on Penn State when that game comes around. And if you don't think the crowd matters, it does. It matters a lot. The last time Indiana beat Penn State as a top 10 team, you got to go back to COVID. And the Michael Penix lay it out 2-point conversion in the Indiana win with nobody in the stadium but us. But can Indiana keep that going? Whew, that's going to be a lot of pressure on Indiana. Kurt Cignetti does not want to be only the 5th coach that Franklin beats. Then again, if Indiana could get that win, I'm not going to say they're going to go beat Oregon. Oregon is just damn tough. I mean, they're good. If Indiana were to beat Penn State on the road and get a likely second top 10 win of the season, Kurt Cignetti would have just 2 less top 10 wins this season than Franklin does lifetime. So there's that. There's that. But it was a great weekend in college football and had some movement. As I talked about, I was impressed with Ohio State. That's you beat Washington at Washington 24-6 right now. That's a pretty solid win. You hold that offense to that. I mean, their quarterback is one that was in the Big Ten, had 5 of the top 6 throwing quarterbacks going into this week. Ohio State has defense. Washington is that place out in the Puget Sound. Whoo, loud. Oregon, of course. Miami was idle. Ole Miss, big 24-19 win over LSU. Still not sure how good LSU really is. Now, the surprise to me is, why on God's green earth would the voters move Oklahoma up 2 spots when A, they didn't play, and B, their quarterback is out? That's ridiculous to me. You want to leave them where they are? That's fine. But moving them up 2 spots, utterly ridiculous. They didn't do anything. And to make matters easier for Oklahoma, their next game is against Kent State. So that's going to allow them to remain around. I don't know how many games John Mateer will be out. This is going to allow him to stay in the Heisman Trophy conversation, where at any other time, that would just cut whoever that was. But not so fast. He will remain up there. Texas A&M, 6th, 7th is Penn State, Indiana 8th, Texas 9th. That's another team that is so overrated. They move up a spot. How? I just don't understand. They beat Sam Houston 55-0. Big deal. You beat Sam Houston. Congratulations. I mean, that will probably take care of itself with their schedule, but they're, again, just overrated. Or did they not play this past week? They were off, I guess. Maybe that was last weekend. Now, now Alabama moves up 7 spots, so that's a lot. But there's no way that I don't see Alabama as being better than Texas, better than Oklahoma right now because of the situation Oklahoma's in. Georgia dropped 7 spots. LSU dropped 9. Tennessee remains idle. You got Vanderbilt. I mean, Michigan doesn't play, but they drop a spot. Oklahoma doesn't play, but they move up 2 spots inside the top 10. What, are you kidding me? Come on, man. Now, how about Virginia? Biggest win of the week. Not only did they upset Florida State, they put 46 points on them, 46-38. BYU squeaks out a win at Colorado. Arizona State knocks off Josh Hoover and TCU to jump into the top 25. I guess that knocked TCU out. I don't see him. Louisville unranked. Yeah, TCU out of the top 25. How many Big Ten? 1, 2, there's 3 teams in the top 10 of the Big Ten. I'm sorry, 4. 4 teams in the top 8. With Indiana, Penn State at 7, and Oregon and Ohio State at the top. Can the Big Ten win a 3rd straight national title with a different team? Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana? Yeah, Indiana's going to have to make changes quick. Not that they can't. Every week we see growth in teams, man. I'm telling you. Teams get better. That's what you have to see. You have to see growth in a team. I saw that in Iowa this weekend. I didn't see it in Indiana. I saw it on the defense. I mean, you can say that offensively being able to stay in that game and win was growth. It's huge. It's very important. There's no doubt about that. But in essence, I think that they give Oregon a cheat code. They showing we talked about that with basketball last year, the year before that. Hell, you know what to do. Well, Indiana not doing well picking up the blitz right now, which is one of the things that happened against Ohio State, but they weren't as talented on the offensive line as they are right now. And the offensive line did fine. It's not that in my opinion. It's the inability for audibles in loud situations, or the refusal to do that. That's not going to work going forward against teams like that. They are going to disguise defenses. They're going to change defenses. You have to be prepared to be able to meet those changes without having to call a timeout every time. Because you burst your time, you waste your times out, then into the half, end of the game, you're in big trouble. But huge win for the Hoosiers, without question. And now the Big Ten standings really don't have, I guess we're still so early on that we don't really know who's where. How about Bobby Petrino started overhauling his coaching staff at Arkansas on Monday morning, sources told ESPN's Pete Thamel. He fired 3 defensive assistants just one day after being named the Razorbacks interim coach. This has got to be the greatest story in football in a long time. Bobby Petrino, if you remember, used to be the Arkansas coach. He got fired. He was trolling around with a volleyball player on his motorcycle, had a wreck, had to do a press conference. I wish I could pull that video up. I'll try in the break. He was married at the time. So things kind of went off the rails, and then he was in kind of Never Land for a long time. Somehow makes his way back to Arkansas, has the cojones to go back there as an assistant and show his face. And now he's the interim coach. Is there a chance they're going to make him the coach again? That would be the most unbelievable circle I've ever seen. I just don't even know what to say. It's hilarious. At 64, Petrino, I guess he's the same age as Kurt Cignetti, returned to Arkansas in 2023 as the OC after serving in a number of jobs. In 4 years as head coach, he went 34-17 of the Razorbacks. Consecutive seasons with double digits wins in 10 and 11. He was involved in a single vehicle motorcycle crash in April 2012 that left him with 4 broken ribs. At first, he said he was riding alone, but a police report revealed a woman was riding with him. The woman turned out to be a former Arkansas athlete who was in a romantic relationship with the married Petrino. The coach had given her a job in the football department and a $20,000 gift. Thank you very much. He was fired by then athletics director Jeff Long for misleading his bosses about what happened with the accident and his relationship with the football staffer. There you go. So they're back. As the world turns in the Southeastern Conference, we're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday after a huge sports weekend. Looking over conference standings right now in the Big 12 Conference, the Iowa State Cyclones ranked 14th, sit 2-0, as do the Arizona State Sun Devils after that big win over TCU. They're ranked 25th, and BYU is 23rd. In that league. Number 11, Texas Tech Red Raiders 1-0. So they've got 4 teams out of the Big 12 that are ranked. Colorado Buffaloes 0-2. That's in conference play. But Iowa State 5-0 overall. Arizona State 4-1. BYU 4-0. Houston 4-0. Texas Tech 4-0. So they've got some good play going on over there. Then, of course, in the Big 10 Conference, in alphabetical order, the Indiana Hoosiers and Oregon Ducks are both 2-0 and are atop the Big 10 Conference right now. Both of those teams are the only teams that are 5-0 in conference play as well. Ohio State 1-0, Michigan, and this is in conference play. Number 20, Michigan. And the Fighting Illini, 1-1. Of course, that huge loss to Indiana. Penn State, 0-1. So that gives 6 teams ranked out of the Big 10, with 4 of those in the top 8. That's a little crazy. That's more than crazy. But that's where we are. Can Indiana win the Big 10? Boy, that's a tough road to hoe. You're going to have to go through Oregon and through Penn State, both of those games on the road. If you could win one of those games, that would be an uberly successive deal, because that's a tough ask of any team, period. I don't care. If you're a top 5 team, that's a tough ask. Now, Oregon going into Penn State and pulling that off, that's a huge deal. I was a little surprised that maybe Oregon didn't vault to number 1 with that win. But they're still loving Texas for some reason. And Ohio State's opening season win over the Longhorns still looms large. In the SEC, the Ole Miss Rebels, they've already played 3 conference games. They're one of only 2 teams to do that so far, but they're 3-0 in conference play. 5-0 overall. Missouri's 5-0. Vanderbilt
of all people is 5-0. The Sooners are 4-0. The Aggies are 4-0. So that's 5 teams that are undefeated right now in the Southeastern Conference, as opposed to the Big Ten has 4 unblemished teams. And we'll see how that matters going forward. What was your favorite thing of the weekend besides Indiana's win? Robert thinks Texas is a pretender. I'm not sure they're a pretender, but they're just not what I think that they I'm not seeing them as a top 10 team. Chris asking what are the chances of getting Rick Bojich on as a guest to get his take on college football teams at this point. Well, I've been waiting. Rick broke his foot. So I've been waiting to get him on, but that's a good point to reach out to Rick, and I'll do that here in a second. But I've been meaning to do that. Miss having Rick on. And I'd love to have him on with some regularity. Rudy says, remember last week talking about how Notre Dame was in trouble going down to Arkansas. This is a prime example why you don't schedule tough out-of-conference games. Notre Dame played 2 AP top 10 teams, and look at them now. Well, I didn't say they were in trouble going down to Arkansas. I said it was a must-win game for both teams, and it was. Look what happened to Arkansas when they lost. They fired the coach. If Notre Dame would have lost that game, they would be out of the CFP talk, period. But as far as being an example why you don't schedule tough out-of-conference games, Notre Dame doesn't have a conference. Every game they schedule is out of conference. So therefore, they don't have tough in-conference games. There's a big difference. Huge. Yeah, they don't have non-conference games. They're all non-conference. Notre Dame needs to join a conference. I mean, in this day and age, I am sorry. But it matters when you play these 9 conference games. Again, look at what Virginia was able to do to Florida State. That's my biggest shocker of the year so far. Brian asking, is Notre Dame ever out of the CFP talk? They're in it usually the longest because they're separate, because they have their own little representative. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. But how about it? It was a great weekend of college football. I mean, it really got going. And more games coming, as a matter of fact. Oh, and don't forget, let's see. I've got to go look at the who did what on the fantasy picks. Let's see. Man, come on. I don't know why it makes it so difficult. But it always is difficult for me to find that stuff. I doubt I did well. Rudy says that, yes, Notre Dame is an independent, but they shadow ACC schedule. Yeah, but that's just not enough. That's just not enough. They need to, they just need to be in a conference. I don't like the fact that they have their own ability to dictate terms in the sport. The conference has a commissioner, SEC, Big Ten. Well, Notre Dame is its own commissioner in and of itself, it seems like. And it's just too much power, in my opinion. Let's see. All right. We'll go to the groups. And Daryl Tressler is just rolling He's up by 9 points over Bill Overman. So that's a good close one. And then Tony Graham's right behind him. How'd you do this weekend? We'll see how the leader did this weekend in week 5. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The leader only went 5-5 this week. That sounds like something I would do. So no one's out of it, baby. No one is out of it. Keep getting those picks in. What did Bill Overman do this week? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 4. It's hard. It's hard, especially, he picked in his big 10-point picker, he picked USC over Illinois, and that did not happen. So that one hurt. That's the great thing about ranking, that you have to rank these bets. If they don't, no, not bets, I'm sorry, these picks. What Tony Graham do this week? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 3. Picked it up a little bit. See, that's how you move in. And then what did I moved up 2 spots, but I'm still in one of my picks. I'm 4 over 500. The other one, I am at 500. What did I do good this week? Oh man, I picked USC as well for my 10-point win. That hurt. I got BYU and Oregon right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I went 6 and 4, but most of my 1, 2, 3, 4 of my picks were 4, 3, 2, and 1 point wise. For those of you that don't know, you each pick is weighted between 10 and 1 points. There are 10 picks. One is worth 10, 9, 8 as you go. I missed my 10-point pick. I had USC over the Illini. Hey, how about the Illini? You want to talk about a bounce back win? That was certainly that. 34-32, gutted it out at the end. Minnesota beats Rutgers 31-28. That's a tough grinder. Northwestern in the Knott Bowl beat UCLA 16-0. Wow. That's ugly. That is ugly. A lot of off teams. We've got plenty more coming up this week. Tomorrow, of course, Mike DeCourcy will join us, and we'll probably have some national media members to continue this talk on how things are going. Open practice at IU basketball tomorrow for the media. So I will be out at Simon Scott Assembly Hall watching the Hoosiers again, thanks to Coach Darren DeVries. He's been awesome at that. Hey, I can't thank everybody enough today. Of course, the man, Don Fischer, Greg Rakestraw. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.